Of all the stories, this must be the strangest. Puss in Boots. A man had 3 sons. The man died, and the 3 sons divided the estate, we say. The oldest son received the house, the middle son received some land, and the youngest son received the cat, Puss. Oh, wow, what's going to happen to me? I don't have anything. How am I even going to live, said the boy. And then the cat told the boy, because this cat speaks, of course, to everyone, please, master, just get me boots and a sack, and I'll do the rest. So the boy thought, well, I have nothing to lose. I'll do it. So the boy gave Puss boots and a sack. Puss went into the woods, lay down as if dead, leaving the sack open. And inside now he knew that at this place, there were many rabbits. Inside the sack, he put some fresh green grass. And sure enough, along came a rabbit, climbed into the sack to get the green grass. Puss jumped up, closed the sack, and went to see the king. Okay. Asked to see the king, gave the king the rabbit, apparently a very good rabbit, and explained that this was a gift to the king from the Duke of Carrabas. This is the name that Puss had decided to give his master, the boy, this fictional name. Oh, how very nice. A few days later, Puss came back, extraordinary in the boots, apparently. Everyone wondered, a cat? Apparently, too, he walked on his hind legs, like the pigs in Animal Farm. So this time he gave the king 2 doves. Well, that was a nice gift. And then a few days later, a dozen quails. Very nice gift, a tasty treat. So, your master is very kind and very generous. I thank him. The next day, Puss somehow knew that the king and his daughter, the princess, were going to be taking a ride in the carriage in a certain spot. So Puss went to his master, the boy, and said, be at this spot on the side of the road when the royal carriage comes. This part is a little unclear, but then Puss runs to the carriage before it had reached the spot where the boy would be waiting, runs to the carriage and says to the king, Your Majesty, my master, the Duke, is drowning. Please help him. It's not in the story that the boy was to be in the water, but I guess he was in the water. So the king, of course, sent his men to rescue the boy who was apparently drowning. And then Puss explained to the king that the Duke had lost his clothes. The king, already fond of the Duke, ordered that a set of his own clothes, the king's clothes, be given to the boy. So now the boy was dressed like royalty, very fine. He was a handsome boy too, and immediately the princess was interested in this handsome boy, this handsome Duke, who had already given her father these nice, not very elegant, but nice gifts, generous. So they rode in, the Duke then rode in the royal carriage, the princess becoming more and more attracted to him. And the king noticed this, of course. Meanwhile, Puss ran ahead to farmers working in the lands, in the fields. Now, these fields all belong to an ogre, O-G-R-E. That's a magical monster who can change shapes. Puss ran ahead and told the farmers, if the king asks you to whom this land belongs, tell him it belongs to the Duke of Carrabas, or the ogre will eat you. The farmers and people working in the fields were afraid of the ogre, so when the king stopped his carriage and said, "Whose land is this? For whom do you work? This land belongs to the Duke of Carrabas." Of course, the Duke of Carrabas was sitting right here in the carriage when this answer was received, but the boy said nothing, just smiled, blushed maybe, and the king, "You own a lot of land. Next stop, same thing. Next stop, same thing. Boy, you really own a lot of land." This is not quite in the story, but the king was impressed, and the Duke was sitting right there in the carriage. Okay, meanwhile, Puss had run ahead to the castle of the ogre, had asked to see the ogre, a scary guy. And Puss had said, "Wow, what a great ogre you are, and you own a lot of land. I understand you can change shapes. Is this true?" "Yes," said the ogre. And immediately the ogre changed himself into a lion. Puss, terrified, tried to hide in a cupboard. This is a strange detail. But his boots slipped, and he slipped outside the cupboard. Why? Don't know. There's no point in the story. But the ogre was pleased. And Puss seemed to be really impressed and terrified. Maybe that's the point. So Puss then said to the ogre, "I understand that you can even change yourself into something very small, even tiny, like a mouse, for example, but I don't believe that. That's impossible." And the ogre, piqued, that is, provoked a little bit by this challenge, changed himself into a mouse. Puss, being a cat, pounced on the mouse and ate the mouse up. No more ogre. And so now Puss's plan was complete. The boy, the Duke of Carrabas, was now the owner of all these lands too. And so when the royal carriage arrived at the castle, all the servants greeted the boy as the Duke, because Puss had told them to. Puss had also ordered them to prepare a gigantic, impressive meal for the king and princess and duke. And apparently all the servants had obeyed the cat wearing boots, who spoke very well. So the meal was prepared, and the king decided to marry his daughter to the impressive Duke of Carrabas right away. To marry his daughter to someone. Notice this construction, because Koreans and other people have a lot of problem with this word marry. Marry with never, and so forth. So the two got married and lived happily ever after. The Duke was now the prince and the heir, H-E-I-R, to the throne of the land. Thank you.
In boots. Number 1. Why did the sons divide the father's possessions? Number 2. What did each of the sons get? Number 3. Why was the youngest son sad? Number 4. What did Puss ask for? Number 5. What did Puss do in the forest? Number 6. What did Puss do with the sack? Number 7. Who was the Duke of Carrabas? Number 8. What was strange about Puss? Number 9. What other gifts did Puss give the king? Number 10. What directions did Puss give his master? Number 11. What happened as the royal carriage rode by? Number 12. How did Puss's master get fine clothes? Number 13. Who became interested in the boy? Number 14. What is an ogre? Number 15. What did Puss say to the people working in the field? Number 16. Where was Puss while the boy was in the carriage? Number 17. What did the ogre change himself into at first? Number 18. How did Puss challenge the ogre? Number 19. What happened to the ogre? Number 20. Why did Puss want to get rid of the ogre? Number 21. What did the king decide?